Our baby monitor picked up room 614, and her voice wasn't alone. The night our baby monitor learned to gossip, I was in the kitchen warming a bottle and trying to remember who I was before everything came labeled. Parent, provider, predictable. The monitor crackled on the counter beside the formula tin, stealing a frequency from some other room, some other life. A man laughed, low, confident, and then a woman answered in a whisper I knew even when it wasn't saying my name. "Don't be cruel," she said, a smile tucked inside the words. It was Lena's voice, my wife. I stared at the receiver like it had committed a crime. Our daughter, Eva, slept down the hall. The bottle beeped finished. I didn't move. From the monitor, an elevator dinged, muffled. Then a door thumped softly, followed by the kind of silence people make with their mouths very close together. Static, then the man again. Room 614. The screen on the receiver showed a meaningless blue bar. Baby monitors catch stray signals all the time. That's what every forum says when someone claims they heard a beyond. I turned the volume down until it was almost nothing, poured the milk and walked to Eva's room. She slept in violent peace, one arm thrown overhead like a triumphant boxer. I set the bottle down, touched her foot through the blanket, and pretended my heart wasn't moving furniture inside my chest. When I came back, the monitor was quiet. Reason woke up. Room 614 could be anywhere. Lena was at a hotel, legitimately. The Interiors Expo had booked her for a panel on textures that tell the truth, which is the kind of title people give to things that lie very well. She left at 4 wearing a blazer that made her look like a verdict. She texted at 8, "Long dinner with sponsors, don't wait up, kiss Eva for me." Then at 8:47 my phone buzzed. "Low battery, talk tomorrow, Roman 20. The kiss of the double X's. Familiar, efficient." I cleaned the bottle. I cleaned the counter. I cleaned the part of my brain that believes in coincidence. Then I did what I have always done when fear shows up with receipts. I went to collect my own. The Riverside is the closest hotel with an expo ballroom and delusions of grandeur. I strapped Eva into her car seat. Yes, I know. Grabbed the diaper bag and drove through a rain that wanted applause. In the rear view, Eva's fist opened and closed like she was auditioning for a more forgiving world. I told her we were going to visit Mama's stage, as if this were a field trip and not a reconnaissance mission, humiliating enough to change my face. The Riverside lobby smelled like citrus and entitlement. People in lanyards streamed through revolving doors, wearing the brittle smiles of people who have practiced networking in their bathroom mirrors. I parked on the street, put Eva's hood up, and slid through the chaos toward the elevators. I didn't know the room number, I had a rumor and a mood. The bank of screens near the desk cycled through announcements and floor maps. When the third map spun up, I took a photo. 6th floor, standard rooms. 14th floor, River Suites, keycard access. The number from the monitor felt like a dare. 614. I told myself I'd only check the corridor, the way a person says they'll only take a smell of the cake. I rode to 6 with Eva asleep against my chest. The hallway turned left then right, the carpet a tasteful river of gray. The door to 614 wore a do not disturb tag that a housekeeper had obeyed with weary respect. I stood there, listening like a thief. Nothing. I pretended to adjust the baby's hat as a woman walked past. She smiled at Eva and then at me as if we were a postcard from a safer life. I knocked once. Reasonable, polite. No answer. I knocked again, more investment in the knuckles. Soft footsteps approached. The latch clicked. He opened the door wearing hotel slippers and a shirt with only 2 buttons doing their job. He was handsome in the way short-term solutions often are. He looked at the baby first. Most people do, because Bobbies are mirrors, and then at me, and his expression went through the phases. Confusion, calculation, charm. "Can I help you?" he asked, like he was the one being inconvenienced. I'm looking for my wife, I said, and my voice came out calmer than the room deserved. Lena. He raised his eyebrows like a verdict delivered gently. Wrong door, he said, and would have closed it if I hadn't slid the toe of my shoe into the space where lies go to rest. He glanced down at the baby again and smiled, soft, genuine. That almost made me angrier. Man, don't do this, he said. Not with a kid. I heard her voice on my baby monitor, I said. It grabbed a frequency. I heard an elevator, a door, a number, 614. He exhaled, the sigh of a person realizing their day would not end as planned. Then he stepped back from the door. Either you're insane, he said, or you're the only person in this building who knows how to listen. He held the door the way a person holds a bridge steady. Come in. You can check the bathroom, check the closet, check me. I walked in. The room was aggressively hotel, art that offends no one, sheets tucked with an army's precision, a transient shrine of minibar and brochure. It didn't smell like her, jasmine and almond and something like clean skin, so much as like someone pretending he didn't mean to. The black coat on the chair by the window, not Lena's. The lipstick on the glass, a color she mocks. The bathroom, damp towels, 2 toothbrushes in plastic that said complimentary like a dare. The closet, empty except for an iron. The bed, unrumpled. The man watched me take inventory with an expression that made me feel like both thief and accountant. I'm Max, he said finally. The universe has a sick sense of humor. All the men who show up at the border between my marriage and my ego are named Max. I'm meeting someone at 9. She isn't your wife. Congratulations, I said. He nodded at the sleeping baby. She's beautiful, he said, and this time it wasn't a tactic. Something softened in my throat and then calcified again. I backed into the hall, said a sorry I didn't mean, and the door closed. The do not disturb tag swayed like a lazy metronome. Elevator down, lobby again. The expo doors spilled a bright laughter that wanted to be admired. A poster showed Lena's face in soft focus beside the phrase "the honest surface," which felt like a joke told by a room to itself. I called her, straight to voicemail. I texted, "We miss you." A heart, a photo of Eva's sock. No answer. On the street, the rain had decided on a narrative, relentless. I buckled Eva into her seat, climbed behind the wheel, and only then noticed the paper on my windshield, caught beneath a wiper blade. Not a ticket. A handwritten note in careful, girlish cursive. If you're looking for the truth, it's on 14. D, the D was looped and theatrical. D for Dasha, Lena's friend and perpetual accomplice in tasteful crimes. Or some stranger who found my face interesting enough to meddle. 14th floor, keycard access. I don't have a keycard for the life I thought I was living. I went back in anyway. The doorman had changed. The new one had the lit from within blandness of a person who knows how to be useful to the powerful without ever being remembered. I nodded like a resident opinion. He nodded back. The elevator opened and a woman in a red dress stepped out, leaving a scent behind that got into the air like a plan. I pressed 14. The button glowed. The elevator didn't move. Keycard required. The woman in red had the kind of smile you develop from saying yes when you mean maybe. You look like a man who needs a miracle, she said. I need a card, I said. She laughed and slid her card against the panel. Independent women keep their own access, she said. Whoever she is, don't be cruel, be correct. Dasha, I asked. Her mouth twitched. Tell her she owes me a story that isn't boring, she said and stepped away, leaving me with the perfume and the green light. The doors shut. The elevator rose, smooth as denial. 14 was quiet the way expensive floors are. Carpet that erased footfalls, doors that pretended not to exist. I walked the corridor with Eva's breath warm against my neck. Room 1406. 1408, 1410. Each door had a name etched on a brass plaque: River, Ember, Lumen. The riverside loved to believe. At 1414, Sweet Canvas. Some designer had sold them a story they couldn't resist. From inside canvas came laughter, female, then male, then that low hush people used to cover the sound of wanting. I didn't knock. I leaned my head against the cool veneer and listened to my marriage breathe through a wall. There is nothing erotic about shame, but there is something indecent about proximity. I felt my pulse in my teeth. Eva sighed and nuzzled closer. I almost laughed because the world is ferocious with irony. The door opened suddenly, not wide, just a sliver, and Dasha's face appeared in the crack, her lips glossy and her eyes saying everything gossip never needs to. "You're not supposed to be smart," she said, and then, seeing Eva, softened like wax under a candle. "Oh. I'm not here to be cinematic," I said. "I'm here to end a rumor." She stepped into the hall, pulling the door shut behind her with the practiced grace of a woman who has closed many rooms on many truths. "She told me she needed to feel like a person," Dasha said softly. "Not a schedule, not a title. It was supposed to be dinner. Then it was a dance. Then it was a door. The man is a donor. He buys attention and calls it patronage." "Is she with him?" I asked. Dasha held my gaze like it weighed something. "She's deciding whether to stay," she said, "which is different than deciding whether to leave." I could have performed the scene, barging in, finding them in tasteful disarray, declaring rules like a cop in a prestige drama. But my daughter yawned against my collar, and I remembered that I had become a father the day I learned how to hold two truths at once without dropping either. I love her. I am angry. I want the story to be clean. I live in the world. "Tell her I'm downstairs," I said. "Tell her if she doesn't come down in 10 minutes, I will assume I'm not the person she chooses when she's done pretending. Tell her I brought our daughter because I'm done outsourcing the cost of our mistakes to rooms I'm not in." Dasha nodded. "You're cruel," she said, "but you're correct." I waited in the lobby with Eva asleep on my chest and the chandeliers performing their opera. 9 minutes. My phone didn't ring. 10. At 11, the elevator opened and Lena stepped out, not hurried, not slow. She saw Eva first, and something broke inside her face and then repaired itself with a craftsman's skill. "You brought her," she said. "I brought the part of us neither of us can lie to," I said. "Do you want coffee?" We sat in the bar where the lighting makes everyone forgive themselves. Lena held Eva like a woman who has remembered her hands. For a minute, all the words we shouldn't say stood on the balcony of my mouth. Then I chose smaller ones. "Tell me without editing," I said. She did, and it hurt in ways both predictable and brand new. The donor had attention like currency. He had poured it on her until she remembered she could burn. They had kissed in a hallway where the cameras had been turned kindly away. She had come upstairs and then down and then up again, not because she wanted to be caught, but because the decision was a staircase and she had worn terrible shoes. "And the room?" I asked softly. "Canvas." She smiled sadly. "We didn't use a bed," she said. "We used a mirror." I felt something like laughter kick the inside of my throat. "Are you done?" I asked. The question tasted like metal. She pressed her cheek to Eva's hair and inhaled the truth of baby shampoo. "I don't know," she said. "I know this. The life I built with you is the first true thing I've ever made. And the hunger I felt tonight didn't belong to a man. It belonged to the version of me that gets to be reckless for an hour without filing a report. I hate that desire wears other people's faces when you've ignored your own." I looked at the ceiling and wished I believed in God. 30 days, I said. No rooms with names. No Tuesdays with patrons. 30 days where you say out loud what you want before you go find a stranger to be brave with. After that, if you still need a mirror, I'll hold it. If you still need a door, I'll open it so I can watch you walk through." Her eyes watered in that useless, beautiful way tears have of arriving when people are trying to be practical. "And what do you put on the table?" she asked. I thought of the way I've been the custodian of our peace, polishing it until it stopped being a home and became a museum. "I stop arriving only with solutions," I said. "I arrive with heat. I tell you when I want you while I still do. I make mistakes loud enough to be forgiven." We didn't touch dramatically in that bar. We touched like a habit we wanted back. Her fingers found my wrist. My palm found the line of her knee under the table. You can call that erotic if you've ever been starving and allowed yourself one generous bite. It was. It is. Dasha passed by on her way out, the red dress more daytime than it had any right to be. She didn't look at us directly, but she set a key card on the marble and kept walking. No note. The card's label, canvas. I slid it back across the table to Lena. "Throw it away," I said. She did, into the bar's little silver trash can that has heard more confessions than a priest. We went home in rain that had finally decided to be merciful. We slept like thieves. In the morning, the baby monitor behaved. The screen showed only static when it wasn't showing our daughter. Lena brewed coffee and leaned against the counter reading the label on the milk as if it held answers. I came up behind her and put my hands on her waist, and she didn't flinch. She covered my hands with hers and said, "Want me now?" "Not always. Now." "Yes," I said, and the word did its work. For 4 Tuesdays, we kept our 30 days like a diet you don't resent. We argued 3 times and none of the fights were elegant, which is how you know they're honest. On the second Tuesday, I took her to a cheap motel with a saint's name and a buzzing sign where no one sells illusions, only rooms. We kissed like people who had stopped pretending kisses are proof and started using them as maps. Nothing you couldn't show on YouTube. Everything your body understands without being taught. The baby monitor never picked up room 614 again. Maybe the hotel changed frequencies. Maybe I did. Sometimes, when the apartment is quiet and our daughter's breath makes the kind of moon a man can live under, I turn the monitor up and listen to the nothing. It comforts me in a way certainty never has. I don't need clean stories anymore. I need the version of us that texts battery low, talk tomorrow Roman 20 and means it because we will. A week ago, I walked past the riverside at dusk and glanced up at the 14th floor. The blinds in canvas were half open. Someone crossed the room, a silhouette I did not want to recognize and didn't. I kept walking. The monitor at home stayed silent. When I got back, Lena was at the table with paint samples spread like cards, asking which green looked like a place we could forgive each other. We chose a color with a silly name, olive branch, and painted the wall behind our bed ourselves, badly. We laughed when we dripped it everywhere. We kissed when we were done, streaked with proof that we had made a mess together and decided to keep it. Our Wi-Fi network is called home. I changed the password to a word only the three of us understand. A mispronunciation Eva made this morning that turned love into something funnier and truer. I wrote it on a sticky note and stuck it to the fridge like a manifesto. When the monitor crackles now, it's only our daughter telling the dark her tiny stories. And when I hear a door in a hotel I'm not in, I don't imagine it's closing on me. I imagine it's closing on a room with a name we won't need again, because we've learned to be reckless together, under a roof that finally believes us.